Hi, good morning. I hope you enjoyed our new animation, which shows basically our understanding about the humanities. Dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning officially. In September 2019, we celebrated the launch of the HERA's fourth transnational joint research program on public spaces, culture and integration in Europe, in the magnificent environment of the European Centre for Solidarity in Gdańsk. We were thrilled to be supporting projects that explored how the relations between culture and integration have been modeled and how research into public spaces could be better understood. When we as a network were preparing the call, we were fully aware that there was a significant role for culture in defining the notion of public spaces and in enabling or problematizing cultural integration whilst respecting diversity. We could not, however, guess that soon after the launch of the joint research program, our basic assumptions would be put to the test in real-life events. The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic has posed immense challenges not only to healthcare, medicine and science, but also to the society as a whole, as we confront the political, economic, social and cultural effects of the virus. These include complex and intertwined ethical and social cultural issues, ranging from social compliance to the concepts of care, the ethics of data gathering and research, the value of expertise, attitudes to the elderly and those with underlying conditions. Reconfigurations of what constitute a public and private sphere, new methods of communication during the outbreak, and as it has become obvious in many, if not in all countries, affected by the COVID-19, political decision-making in the processing and presentation of information. In the midst of these challenges, the importance of culture has been abundantly clear as a resource of expression and collective well-being. Moreover, digital innovation has taken place in numerous areas of research and practice, including digital approaches to cultural production and access under conditions of lockdown and isolation. In this complicated environment, the notion of public space seems to have gained new meanings. With many people confined to their homes and severe limitations on citizens' rights to use public spaces, we face the problem of reconceptualization of the term itself. To immerse oneself into the digital sphere did not seem to be cured at all. Working and relaxing online did not change the situation in terms of issues of integration and exclusion, disintegration, fragmentation or hybridization, as all these problems remained or became much more evident. Even the concept of culture, which we were thinking was the key to understanding the nature and role of public space itself, underwent redefinition, being felt by many as a mere entertainment in all its possible forms. It gradually evolved into a joint creative endeavor, an experiment in improvisation on a scale not known before. It appeared that even when physically isolated in our homes, we strive for meeting others and for doing creative things together. In this respect, the interplay between the various forms of cultural activities and public spaces, whether material, symbolic or virtual, became a scene for a range of new responses to such challenges as, for example, globalization, digitization or migration. But even if one may claim that actually the experience of the plague is not new in the history of the mankind, the COVID pandemic actually helped us in many cases to understand what is really important in our lives and reveal the truth about ourselves. Bright side, but also the sinister and the dark. In this respect, we went along the same road as many other societies, early modern, medieval, or the ancient ones. We as the HERA network are very proud to see the amazing results of projects funded under the Public Spaces, Culture and Integration in Europe scheme. We congratulate the projects on the successful accomplishment of all proposed research tasks. Your research not only produced new theoretical insights that promote the full potential of citizens' engagement with European public and cultural spaces, but in many cases it also stimulated public, political and scholarly debate about the future. Projects build new modes of interactive and reciprocal engagement between academics and various types of stakeholders, including those working in the media, creative industries and heritage sectors. These collaborations proved to be the true vehicles of European integration. We admire your flexibility and the creative way in which you dealt with all the limitations and restrictions impacting both the scientific activities of your projects and the workings of everyday life. Dear colleagues, as the chair of the HERA Network Board, I'm more than happy to welcome you all here to this historical city of Wroclaw for the HERA Conference. The aim of this event was initially to close HERA's joint research program in this beautiful city of the bridges. But the developments after 24th of February and the Russian invasion of the Ukraine forced us to rethink the concept of this meeting. As many of us ask ourselves the fundamental question, what is actually the use of our work in the world at war, we found it really important to use the occasion of the conference to ask some fundamental questions about the value of the humanities in times of crisis. Unfortunately, the history of human civilization has been in many respects a history of crisis, be they of political, social, economic, religious, or any other kind. They have marked the development of our societies. Some of them are of epic proportions, like, for example, the fall of Rome, and have profoundly transformed the existence and the identities of entire nations, but the others are of a local, regional character. From very early times, people have endeavored to make sense of crises, trying to find an explanation for the sudden outbreaks and to incorporate them in their understanding and interpretation of the world. Thus, the meaning of crisis has evolved over the centuries, and for us today, maybe crisis has a more negative or even sinister meaning, and is viewed as a disruptive event or succession of events that durably, sometimes irreversibly, affect the fabric, the equilibrium, the development of our contemporary societies, or the sheer capacity these have to make sense of themselves. In these circumstances, we want to raise the fundamental questions and invite you to discuss the role of the humanities in understanding crisis and shaping the responses to various crises, past and present. That many of you have traveled long distances to be here serves as a reminder to us all just how important our work is. The stimulation of modern humanities research is namely the heart of our HERA mission. This time we meet in another symbolic place. Wrocław is one of the most ancient cities in today's Poland, an important place on the map of medieval Europe. This is a city rich in history, badly wounded and rebuilt, a city of migrants with a new population coming up here after the Second World War, mostly from today's Western Ukraine. On behalf of the HERA Network Board, let me express once again our warm welcome to this conference. In putting this event together, we try to identify the most striking problems and challenges facing us within joint research program and beyond. We have tried to combine the intellectual challenges of public spaces with more general problems of the humanities, since we are all well aware that through time, the public spaces have acted as open domains of human encounters and exchanges, often negotiated or contested. They have been in many cases exactly those domains where clash and concord process took place, which can be described as a constant process of mutual reading and rereading of various sources of cultural texts, rooted in, reflecting, using, and very often also misusing the various pasts. Public spaces are closely connected with the expression and exchange of values and beliefs, and with the formation and appropriation of institutions, and thus public spaces, lend themselves to cultural analysis of these processes and structures. HERA, being the single one program on the European level, financing transnational humanities-led research, strives to become the reference in international humanities, both in funding and in research collaboration. We would like to see the integration of humanities viewpoints into various research agendas, and we try to inform policy making about the vital contributions humanities bring to social issues, and thus to strengthen the role of humanities research in public debate. Therefore, we aimed at creating a dialogue between projects who are speaking to the same or neighboring themes in order to encourage mutual learning and challenging intellectual conversations. We have tried to emphasize that various perspectives are possible, giving the voice not only to the project leaders, but also associated partners and the early career researchers. We are very proud that we are given a chance to see the results of the funded project under the public spaces topic. I'm sure that you all are excited about the possibility of being here in present and learning from the experience. Thank you for this all-important research conducted during these 3 difficult years. We hope that the voice of our scientific community will be heard by politicians and policymakers, thus enabling a better understanding of today's societal challenges and ensuring the future world is a better place to live in. I wish you all a fruitful conference, plenty of very provoking discussions, and hope you have a nice time here. Thank you very much. So let me introduce now Gráinne Walshe from the Ireland Research Council, who's actually speaking about the role of the IRC in HERA.
Thank you, Wojciech. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure and privilege to, I have to remember to keep this near my mouth, to join you here today for this joint research conference on crisis in the humanities in crisis. It's my first time in Poland, in this beautiful city, Wroclaw. I'm so impressed by the culture, the friendliness, and indeed the professionalism of all the people that we've engaged with in the organisation of this conference. So an event like this has been in the making for years, if not months, and we really appreciate the help we receive from so many different people, both in the network and locally. So the conference marks, as Wojciech said, the end of the public spaces JRP, and it brings together a very diverse group of delegates from project leaders, PIs, the various national research councils, EU representatives, members of the HERA board, past and present, previously funded HERA projects, members of the evaluation panels, and humanities research policymakers. So, as this wide and varied list of attendees indicates, this conference is more than just a wrap-up event. It celebrates, as Wojciech alluded to, the incredible scholarship, innovation of the HERA project teams in the public spaces JRP, and of the work of the network in promoting the scholarship in the humanities more generally. It also highlights the current crises faced internationally and across Europe, COVID, migration, conflict, economic and other forms of crises, and illustrates and demonstrates how the humanities and humanities research is pivotal to making sense of and indeed shaping solutions to the issues we face in our time. In this sense, this conference is pivotal in showing the criticality of the humanities in the world today. HERA itself is a network of 26 national funding agencies committed to leading and developing funding opportunities for humanities researchers in Europe and beyond. The Irish Research Council has been one of those 26 Research Council since 2009. Alongside our partner funding agencies, we would fund Irish projects that would come through under one of the 4 calls that HERA has had in its time. And we've been very pleased as the national agency in our council with a special mandate for supporting humanities research that we could support Irish projects. But we've also, in addition, had the role of handling agency, along with our counterparts, NWO in the Netherlands. NWO has dealt with the pre-award stage, whereas the IRC as handling agency has dealt with the post-award stage since 2016. And that has meant that we would look after issues such as grant negotiations, financial management of the transnational projects, organisations of events such as this one, but if you have any complaints, you can direct them elsewhere. I say we have been doing this, but of course we've been doing this with our partners and members of the HERA programme team, the HERA management team, and the many people who've been involved. And I'll mention a few individuals who've been very helpful over the last few days in just a moment. And I also say we, representing the IRC, the royal we, but the real we of the IRC in this respect is Rosemary Sweeney, who along latterly with Peter Hodson have been the main drivers behind the organisation of this event. And I want to thank them very much for their work in making sure we're all here today. Thank you, Rose and Peter. And I also want to thank the main people who've been involved in supporting Rose and Peter, Wojciech the Chair, Charles the Vice Chair, Tony and Joe, Knowledge Exchange Fellows, and from the funding agencies, Jamie from the AHRC, Krista from DLR, Yelena from HAZU, Carrie from the NWO, Marie from AHR, Christina, who is research assistant from Southampton University, all of whom have been in the room and part of the hive mind that has led to us all being here today, and thanks very much to them all. I also want to thank Dominika and her team at the Hilton Hotel, who have been very, very supportive, and at the University of Wroclaw, Patricia and all the wonderful people there. We'll enjoy the fruits of their work later on today. And last but not least, I want to thank Paul, who is both chairing the session and stepped in as our AV expert this morning. It's very much an all hands on deck at these occasions, and thank you for that. I just want to finish by saying Wroclaw is a city of encounters and transformations, and we hope that all of you are transformed by your encounters over the next 2 days. If any programme instantiates the value of the humanities, we believe the talks, panels and activities planned for this conference most certainly do, and we hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Professor Joanna Sowa, and together with my colleague Professor Tony Whyton, we are the HERA Knowledge Exchange Fellows. And together with Wojciech, we have put together the intellectual content of this programme for the conference. We would both like to welcome you to Wroclaw. As Wojciech has very elegantly outlined, our meeting takes place against the backdrop of war in Europe, a looming energy and economic crisis, and COVID still casts its shadow. We find ourselves in a world which urgently needs the critical skills, insights, and historical and cultural understandings that only the humanities can provide. It is those specific methodological and critical insights into the past, present and future that we need now, perhaps more than at any other point in our lifetimes. And so, rather than a celebratory retrospective of the Public Spaces programme, we made the decision to pivot the conference to a present and future focused discussion of what we, as humanities scholars, can contribute to the world in which we now find ourselves. So the aims of this event are threefold. First, to create opportunities for discussion and debate around the role of the humanities at a time of crisis, and to explore whether the humanities themselves might be experiencing crisis in various ways. We wish to use this event as a springboard from which to develop advocacy, productive ways forward in which the humanities knowledge and methods of critical inquiry may engage with the challenges beyond the university. This also includes understanding the needs of the humanities research community at a time of crisis and how future humanities research might respond to it. Second, to draw the Public Spaces programme to a close by taking a particular focus on public space as a lens through which to engage with the profound issues that face the citizens of Europe and the world. And last but not least, because of the pandemic, we have not met in person since the launch of the JRP in Gdańsk. Of course, many of us have met online, and this has led to some very productive working relationships between projects. But there's no replacement for in-person conversations. We know that you'll have lots to talk about. So while we draw the Public Spaces programme to a close, we hope and believe that this is not the end of your conversations. We have opted not to live stream the event, but will instead be recording sessions and keynotes placed on the HERA website so that those colleagues who are unable to join us can catch up at another time. If you've not already done so, we would ask you to sign or indicate your willingness to be recorded on the release forms that I know that Rose and her team have provided to you, even if you're not on a panel. And we've also been asked to say a few housekeeping things. So forgive me, I'm going to go down the list of housekeeping now. First of all, health and safety. This is where I get to be an airline stewardess and say, the emergency exits are behind you. There may also be emergency exits that you cannot see. Please take a look around and find your nearest emergency exit. I think there's one over to the right and behind you and to the left. The loos, the bathrooms are at the back of the area downstairs. Switch off the sound on your mobile phone, please. In my classes, I have a very effective method where I tell people that if students' mobile phones go off, they have to do a somewhat humiliating nursery rhyme in public. I won't make you do that, but please do switch off your ringer. Many of the events are here at the Hilton, but this afternoon we will be hosted by the University of Wroclaw for our first keynote lecture by Dr. Alessia Kromanchuk, and a concert to support a local charity in Wroclaw who are working with Ukrainian refugees, and Tony will tell you a bit more about that. There will be a collection in aid of the charity. You can donate in Polish zloty, or there will be a QR code provided so you can do online transfer. And I'd like to acknowledge that this was actually the idea of many of the projects to do something for the Ukrainian refugee community, and this is the way that we have chosen to articulate that request from you, and we thank you very much for that idea. More information and representatives from the charity will be available at the concert too. In your delegate pack, you should have already received a map with directions on how to get to the university, but we have a wonderful student team who's also on hand to walk over with you. And Rose is organising that and will make sure that you get there. Tomorrow, the conference is here in the Hilton, but there will be an evening reception at Wroclaw Town Hall. Again, there will be maps and students on hand to guide you. You've probably already seen the quite amazing number of posters that we have in the lobby. There will also be films on show in a screening room, which is actually behind those posters. You'll see that there's just a little entranceway and the screening room is just behind there. Finally, if you're chairing a panel, please arrive 10 minutes before your panel presentation to around time for detect will be set up. And if you've got any questions, just ask. And I wish you a productive and enjoyable conference, and now hand over to Tony.
I keep looking at my watch and I'm nearly having a heart attack because we're running over already. But it's just my job. I'll introduce the concert and talk a bit more about the charity this evening, if that's okay. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Paul Cook and our panellists stage for our first panel this morning on humanities, crisis in humanities in the time of war in Europe.